The Eagles to make the playoffs, minus 250. Miss the playoffs, 2-1. Win total, 10.5. Over, minus 30. Under, plus 10. To win the division, minus 120. They are favored. Win the conference, plus 600. Shortest odds in the NFC behind San Francisco, Detroit. And to win the Super Bowl, 15-1. Offensively, so Hurts has got to bounce back. Remember, they started off 10-1 last year, tailed off, and there's been a couple of really good articles, and one on ESPN where it said Sirianni and Hurts were just butting heads last year. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. I mean, if Sirianni's smart, he did a lot of dumb things last season, and I think getting into it with your quarterback is probably not the best thing either. Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator. We're both fans of Vic Fangio. Would you say you're a fan of Vic Fangio?
I think he's a good coordinator.
Me too. Devin White, they signed him to help out the linebacking core. They needed some help there. Their defense was the first 2 picks in the draft. They got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to boost the secondary. So they tried filling some of those weaknesses in different ways. What do we think about the Eagles? Are they the best team in the NFC East?
So a couple things to piggyback off what you just said. Number one, there's no more cringier head coach in football than Nick Sirianni. That's a fact. I hate him. Number two, you mentioned they opened up 10-1. Over the course of the last 2 years, the Eagles have combined open through 12 weeks of 20-2. So under this regime and starting quarterback, they're locked in relatively early and rolling from right from the gate. So the problem is what happened to them late last year. They went from looking like major competition for the Niners to win the NFC to becoming the single worst team on the field, probably in the league down the stretch the last month of the year. What's hard to square, though, is like despite this team opening last year 10-1, they were trailing at the half in 6 of the 12 first games last year, which I thought was pretty interesting. The Eagles' schedule didn't seem that hard last season. They played the 8th easiest schedule based on total efficiency last year. So they weren't exactly tested as much and often as other clubs in retrospect. They struggled anytime they were at a rest disadvantage last year. It happened 6 times last season. In those 6 games, they were 0-5-1 against the spread. That's something to keep an eye on this year in terms of where they are in their week and who they're playing. But they held up well against the spread the rest of the way, obviously. In terms of personnel, the Eagles have some very strong rooms in that building when it comes to the offense. They are projected to have the 4th best offensive line room in the league, 5th best running back room, and with the addition of Barkley, and the 2nd best wideout room in the league. So the defense holds its own with the front 7 and the secondary. They're both projected to be in the top half of the league. But as Jalen Hurts goes, this team is going to go. They lost pieces like Jason Kelce, who was one of the best centers in the league due to retirement. But the year comes down to 3 things for me. Number one, can Saquon Barkley stay healthy? Number 2, can the secondary bounce back? They are the worst unit in the building, and the unit fell dramatically last year in EPA per dropback. They ranked 27th in the league, so they need to rebound there. Number 3, like I just said, as Jalen Hurts goes, this team goes. Last season, he was average, 10th in EPA per attempt, 15th in EPA per attempt in the pocket, 39th on first down, 23rd with less than 2.5 seconds to throw, 17th under pressure, 27th when being blitzed. So one of the bright spots that he does have going for him, though, is that he was the best quarterback in the league last year on 3rd and 4th down. That needs to continue. If it does, then I think that they're going to have a great year. So I'm on the Philadelphia Eagles at around a coin flip to win the NFC East. Give me the over, what is it, 9.5 or 10.5 wins?
10.5.
Yeah, I think that they're an 11-6 club at probably worst case, maybe 12-5. So I think they get over that. If you don't want to double dip and you don't want that much exposure, I would probably just take them to win the East. That's all I've bet so far. I might get on the win total though.
Best bet for the show, Eagles to win the East, -120.
Yep.
Beautiful. Love it.